Greetings, everyone. Yes, it is my favorite time of the month because it is either the first or third Tuesday. I have two favorite Tuesdays of the month because it is Being Grown at Work live, and this is a part two session. So I'm telling you, if you didn't see part one a couple weeks ago, you want to go catch it on the replay. You definitely want to sit pen and paper with that part one and pen and paper today with part two because I have an absolute fantastic guest. This is a phenomenal woman. We were just chatting before we came on live, and I said that, this year with my lives, I've only had two finance experts or finance for some of you that say it that way out there. And it's been resonating with the audience. And I understand why, because we all are watching the pocket. We're watching our coins. We want to make sure what we have we can hold on to, and that maybe we can build a little bit more. And this is what this finance expert, this phenomenal woman is going to talk about today. And it's really going to be for those of us that are, just trying to live day to day. And, we're not necessarily wealthy, quote unquote, whatever that definition is for you, but we're trying to make sure that we can live day to day and get ourselves into the future. So we're going to jump right into part two of our session, Black Girl Magic Finance. Let me introduce you to this phenomenal woman, Nashaya Richardson. Nashaya is a mom of one son, is a multifaceted professional, blending expertise in administrative support with a glowing award-winning business and financial coaching. Nashaya brings a unique perspective to her role as the play money coach, which I absolutely love, play money, because we all need play money. And she's going to tell you what that is in a second, aiming to empower women in fostering healthier relationships with their finances. Nashaya embarked on a journey to address her own financial challenges of maxed out credit cards, multiple personal loans, no savings, bad credit, and ultimately transforming them into triumphs. While reflecting on her triumph, she saw the need to help other women do the same. Drawing from 3+ years of hands on experience, Nashaya has emerged as a formidable presence in the field. She has collaborated with dozens of clients, offering personalized coaching sessions, workshops, and presentations both virtually and in person. Her approach is informed by her certification as a Six Sigma Yellow Belt. Yes, love that. Enabling her to optimize money management processes and deliver tangible, efficient results for her clients, as well as advanced education through the Financial Coach Academy, a rigorous program equipping her with skills equivalent to those of an MBA in financial coaching. Her commitment to ongoing learning and growth underscores her dedication to providing top notch guidance on financial literacy, money management, and mindset. Nashaya serves on the board of the Albany Land Trust and volunteers her time to her neighborhood association and other community organizations. Some of the organizations she is currently in partnership with are the Affordable Housing Partnership of the Capital Region and the Capital Region Community Loan Fund, providing financial wellness to the clients to reduce racial wealth gap and support small business owners to financial successes. Welcome back, Nishaya.
Thank you for having me back. I'm excited.
Yes, I was so excited the first time. I knew it was going to be everything, and it was. Like I shared with the audience, if they missed part one, we're going to give them a little taste of it, but then we're going to move into part two and really give some tangible steps. But as I said, so let's just take a look back. Nishaya, especially at this time, what's going on in our country here in the U.S. People are unfortunately being separated, laid off, not sure where they're, what's going to happen next. Some people are not. They're still in their roles, but they're a little nervous, and they're really trying to say, okay, what do I do? How do I make sure that I protect myself and my family? And then if you're like me and you grew up with a mom that was born in the Depression era, although I've been blessed to have a wonderful career, I didn't really have the tools to
Hmm.
understand what it was. I mean, when they said 401k, I was like, oh, what's that? I didn't understand. All I knew was bank savings account. But that's it,
Yes.
and barely knew that. But when our first session, Nishaya, what I loved is you talked a little bit about no matter what of those scenarios you're in, why it's important for financial wellness, financial literacy to be top of mind. Can you revisit some of what you shared in part one around that?
Yeah. I initially touched on the fact how finances are really part of our overall wellness. And a
Yeah.
lot of times we don't connect the two. We just assume, well, I need a budget, I need to save, I need to pay off debt. And then when you talk about the why, it's like, well, why do you need to do those things? Because
Mm,
it reduces your stress. It gives you a peace of mind. You have the clarity and the confidence to say, okay, I could afford to go and buy this $150 worth of groceries without worrying that you're going to overdraft your account or be negative. And, so it really gives us
right.
that peace of mind, and it really helps our overall well-being, which, I think is like the number one thing to focus on and talk about, because sometimes it's not addressed at all, because all we're worried about is, oh, I need the new budgeting app, I need a new budget. And a lot
Right.
of times it's so much deeper than that. And
Yes.
it
So
just
true.
gives us that security, that financial security that so many of us desire if we're not already there or already feeling that way. And how you talked about your mom, coming from the Great Depression era and not having that financial education. I was the same way. I didn't have that financial education. So there was a lot of uncertainty and like, well, I
Yes.
paid the bills. Now what? Do I have a
Now,
savings? I don't know. Like, so I think
right?
that is why it's so important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And it's important, for those, this is, being brown at work, we're talking about with the careers and at work, but the wellness piece and the financial part of what you do in your career and how you manifest the results of your career, your hard work, all the stuff you do. That's why I felt it's so important to have someone like Nishea to join us at Being Brown at Work Live, because those things are coupled together. I mean, we're at work and we have benefits and we need to understand what to do with them. Like I mentioned, 401k. I had no idea what that was when I first started over 40 years ago, because my mother didn't have 401k. Barely had a savings account. So
Mhm.
that's why this topic is so important. So, we spent part one, and I'm telling you, go and listen to it. It's everything. Nishea dropped so many gems in part one. And keep in mind, reason why I wanted to read her whole bio is because this is not someone who sits in Park Avenue in the financial district. This is not someone who, I mean, she's us. I mean, you heard that where she had bad credit. Hey, she had, loans. Hey, done all that, back in the day. And so she understands what it's like to be us, those of us that have been challenged, maybe unfortunately if you're laid off. And she's got the expertise. What I want to dial into is because they're probably seeing on the screen, the share next to your name, the play money coach. Because some people just heard me say, okay, Linda, yes, everything you said resonated, but play money? What's that about? I don't play with money now.
Right.
What is that about? So give us a little bit, Nishea, about why you are the play money coach. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I always desired to bring the fun back into money, because so many
Mm,
times it's like this horrible thing, and it's like, oh my gosh, money is so scary. We don't talk about it. We don't do anything with it. We just pay the bills, and oh my gosh, what if I mess it up? It's just a very
yeah.
sometimes heavy, daunting topic. But really, when we like really think about it, the money is there for us to play, for us to get back to that youthfulness that we desire, and whatever that looks like for each of us. You mentioned travel when, before we came on. That is also my thing. Like, I have money that I put aside every month just for travel. So because I know that that's the thing I value, that's the thing that
Yeah.
brings that youthfulness back into me, into my life. And that is what I really want people to get to the point of with their finances is, okay, yeah, you're saving, you're paying off debt, you're managing your money well, but why are you doing it? Oh, it's so you can really enjoy
Mm.
your money and have fun with it, and really say, okay, the work that I'm doing and the paycheck that I'm getting, it's actually worth it because I'm having fun and playing with my finances. So yeah, that's where
And
the pay
yeah,
money comes
and I love that, Nashaya, because a lot of times we don't get to the why. I
from.
know my daughter shared with me that she was talking to someone that I connected her with, and they were talking to her about her career goals. And she said, Mom, they kept asking me, well, why do you want to do that? Well, why do you want to be at that? And she was like, I mean, that really made her peel back the onion and really dig deep. It's not just I, want to pass the bar and I want this. Why do I want that? and why do I want to make X amount, and why it's the why. I mean,
Yeah.
that is what's so, I think, important, that we don't spend time really understanding, because money is a tool, right?
Yes.
And we have our jobs and our careers. We've got the education, we've applied, we did the interview, we did all that, and we landed this opportunity, or we're in the process of landing opportunities, or we're in the midst of pivoting. And I think it's so important for us to get the clarity around the why,
Yeah.
especially at this time, because things are really, really challenging and difficult there and out here in the US. And as we're working through all of this, our why has to be solid. So I
Yeah.
love the fact that the play money definition that you gave, because there should be a reason beyond just trading your time for money, which is
Yes.
work, right?
Yes. Yes.
Beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. That gets old after a while.
Yes. Does it not? It
Yes.
gets old for sure. So the purposefulness around this conversation. So I just wanted to revisit with you guys. This is what we talked about in part one. Really understanding, why are we even talking about money, first of all? Let's take the taboo away from it. I love her name. Let's take the scary, the kind of around away from money, and understand the powerfulness around it,
Yeah.
get our purpose down, our why, and then go off and do what we got to do. So that's what we're going to talk about now in
Awesome.
part two. Yeah, we're going to get into some actionable steps. So I'm going to turn it totally over to you, Play Money Coach. And
Okay.
if you could just step us through, and what I'd love for you to think about doing, Nashaya, and tell me if this doesn't work.
Mhm.
If you have, I don't know if you have it in categories depending on where people are in their lives and their careers,
Okay.
or how you approach it. But please just take us through the phases and give us the actions of what we need to do, and then maybe even how we even set goals for ourselves as we're taking these steps. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Coach.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So I always start all my clients with a financial reality check, is what I call it. So we got
Mm,
to figure out where's the money going every month. And sometimes that can be difficult for people because they don't want to look at their finances. They don't want to look in the bank account and see those purchases. They don't want to
mm,
look on the credit card statement and see what's there. That can be a little scary, but I find that it is the most rewarding and it is the most transformational part of just building that healthier relationship with our finances. It's just really seeing like, where's my money going every month? And
yeah,
this is not, the time to like beat ourselves up or, just say all the negative things like, why did I buy this thing? That's not what this is for. It's really just for us to have clarity of what's happening with my money every month. And once we do that, so it's really just a matter of us looking through our checking account, looking through our credit card statements, wherever we have our monthly expenses going through each month, and just identifying what's coming in. And then we need to
okay,
figure out, or excuse me, going out. Then we need to figure out what's coming in. How much money are we actually making? Because sometimes, those of us who have actual disposable income, we don't realize how much we have because we're
mm,
not really paying attention. We're just spending, right? Or we have our habits and our routines and we have our purchases that we make on a regular basis and we don't realize that we have 500, 1,000, 1,500, $2,000 extra every month because we're just so in the flow. But when we can identify what's actually coming in, then we can see what we have to use towards our expenses and then what may be available for us to spend and pay off debt and then travel and do whatever's fun, playful for us.
right,
And then from there, once you know what's coming in, what's going out, now you can do the real subtracting to see, am I in a positive every month? Do I actually have some money left over after I pay all my expenses? Or am I in the negative? And
hmm,
that is truly the opportunity for people to see like what is my true next step? Because if you're in a space where you have a positive number and you just calculated everything that came in, oh, okay. Now you can kind of breathe and like let your shoulders down and say, all right, I'm doing pretty good. Now, what can I do next to
yeah,
work towards that goal, that we may have in mind? But if we're in a space where we get that negative, there's a couple of things that we can
mm,
do. One, it's like, okay, are there any is there any waste? And as we, in the process
Yes.
improvement, terms, is there anything that I can eliminate that's really not important? That maybe I had that subscription that was I was paying for every month and I didn't really realize it. Those free trials.
Yes. Girl, those free trials that turn into 39.99 of what? I mean 19. That stuff, look, it's caught me. And that adds
Yes.
up after a while.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Especially, when you don't notice it, and then you're like, I'm not even using that thing. Now you're upset.
Exactly. So true. So
Yes.
true. I just went through my phone and my iPod, iPhone, and went to subscriptions. I was like, oh no, cancel calm. I mean, it was nice at one time, but I ain't been using that for 2 years. Okay, we can renew, not renew it. And what's interesting now that you say that, Nishaya, it was 19.99. How come it's 39.99 now? When did it go up? I'm like,
Right.
oh my God. So yeah, see, I see. Okay. And you're right. We're not paying attention to this stuff.
Mhm.
And it sounds small, everyone, but that it can add up. It can
Yes.
add up. Yes.
Very much
Okay,
so.
go ahead.
Yeah. So now we can identify, is there some things that I'm paying for every month that I no longer need to continue to pay for? Like, as you stated, I haven't used this thing in 2 years. Why am I still paying for this?
Right.
And then, also, so yeah, it's limited name of things that we don't use anymore. And then I also tap into people's values, their financial values, which is also connected to
Mm.
their personal values. So when we talk about just using our example of travel, we can say, hey, is my spending in alignment with travel, which is what I said I value? Well, no, because I actually spent $100 on, and this, I'm not saying this like a bad thing. I spent $100 on the gym and I haven't gone to the gym in 2 years, when I can be putting that $100 in my travel savings account and putting that towards something that I value and that I'm actually going to use.
There we
So
are.
it's so
Yes.
important to identify what those values are so that we're not just eliminating things to eliminate them because that's what a financial expert said you have to do. You can't have your coffee or, your hair appointment.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you went there, Nishaya, because, and no disrespect to some of the financial planners, but that's what some of them do. They
Mhm.
tell you all the stuff you can't do.
Yes.
They really don't connect. That's why I love your approach of really connecting with the person and the person's values.
Hmm.
Because maybe my value is the fact that I can get my hair done.
Yes.
Maybe, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Maybe
Yeah.
that's my thing, or it's, I want to make sure I take one trip a year, whatever. But to have some of these financial planners say, okay, and it's cookie cutter. It's the same for everybody.
Hmm.
Okay, you can't do any of these things anymore, and then you walk away totally unhappy.
Yes.
And but you may have saved some money, but I mean, is there real, I mean, is it really catching the core of your value and what your goals were, or what makes you whole, complete, happy, your wellness, back
Yes.
to what you mentioned before. I love that in your approach. I love that.
Yes.
I
And,
love that.
yeah, you may walk away with a plan or save some money, but how long is that really going to last?
Gonna last. Thank you. Because yeah,
It's just
because
not going to
it
work.
didn't, it's not gonna last because it didn't connect to anything that's in here.
Nope.
Did it connect
Exactly.
that? There we
No.
are. Love
Yes.
it.
So definitely let's focus on the values. And like as you mentioned, they're different for all of us. So now when we're
Yes.
creating a plan based on that, now it's like, okay, now this is my individual plan. I'm excited to adopt this and actually
Yes.
go full force with it. So I would say that's the first step for any of us, regardless of where we are financially, is just have that financial reality check with ourselves, figure out what's coming in, what's going out, and then eliminate any waste or anything that you no longer value so that you can really start focus on the things that are important
Mm.
to you in your finances and just in life in general. The second step is start slow. So I believe I mentioned this in the
Ah.
why when we started talking about like saving and all of that stuff. Start slow because I know it's like so exciting to say, oh, I can't have a new budget. I'm just gonna just be perfect and manage my money, perfectly fine for the rest of
Yeah.
my life. Well, that's not realistic if that's not what you're already doing. And even if you are already doing it, if we've made some changes, like we've eliminated something or now we're focused on something different, it's going to take us a little time to get used to that change. So I would
Yeah.
say start slow. So even if we focus on 1 week at a time. So let's say we've identified what's coming in, what's going out. We know when all of our bills are due. We know when we're going to pay things. Now we can say, all right, every week I am going to check in with myself on pick a day, let's say Sunday, and just do a quick inventory of how my week went with my finances. Did I stick to the plan that I wanted to stick to? Did I go
Love
over
it.
the amount that I allowed myself for spending? Did I pay all the bills on time? Was there anything that I want to do differently? And by having that weekly check-in with ourselves, it's we're now building a habit, we're building a
Yes.
routine, and that
Yes.
consistency is going to make it last longer. And it doesn't have to be this long drawn out meeting with ourselves. It could be 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes to a half an
Yes.
hour, just checking in with our bank statements and also setting a goal for that week. Um, because that's going to also give us that clarity or know what we're working towards. So if we're someone,
Yes.
who has a difficult time with paying bills on time, okay, my goal this week is to pay all my bills on time. And
Hmm.
I'm going to make sure that that's what I'm focused on this week. Or my goal this week is to save $100 this week. Okay, what do I need to do to save that $100? And then I'm checking in with myself at the end of the week or whatever day they choose, to see if we're on track. And if we're not, then that's an opportunity for us to say, okay, what could I have done differently? What did I
Yeah.
actually do well so I can celebrate
Yeah.
that? Because we always
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
something good, right? And then,
Yes.
what do I need to do differently next week? And then now let me plan my next week based on the things that I would like to do better or the things that I did well. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah. And then I would say the third step is mindset. So, these
Mm.
tangible things are great, right? We have the budget, we're goal setting, we have a time on our calendar that we're checking in to see how well we did. And then there comes the mental part of it. And that
Yes.
is sometimes the most difficult for people because if we have, a past experience with finances or some form of financial trauma, whether it be, we had a bankruptcy or we maxed out credit cards, i.e., me, right?
Yeah. Right.
Repossession
Right.
of my credit report. Like those things are traumatic events and they can
Yes, they
really
are.
affect the way we think about money, how we feel about money, how we manage money. And if we don't actually tackle those things, they're going to keep showing up at all different
Yes.
levels.
It
And
does. So
I think,
true.
yes, and I think it's important that people really look at how they're feeling about their money and maybe and why. Going back to that why are they feeling that way? And if they can
Right.
really identify, oh, if I grew up in the house with my single mom and my two other sisters, and it was three of us, single mom on her single income. And yes, we didn't need for anything, but at the same time, we didn't go on vacations. I've never experienced that, right? Or we
Right.
never talked
Right.
about money. And now I feel uncomfortable talking about money. And then we can identify, is that something that I want to continue? Do I want that to continue to be my narrative? Or is that something that I want to change? And what is the first step
Yes.
that I can do to start
Yes.
changing that? Well, I'm going to start talking to my son about money because that wasn't done in my household as a child. And that's something that I want to change so that I get more confident and feel more confident about the way I'm managing our money. So yeah, that was
Exactly.
a lot. But yeah, I would
No, it
say,
was
yeah,
great.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that was, I mean, all of that was wonderful and it was so on point. And I'm glad you ended the list with mindset because I think for us as Black and Brown people, that's really where the crux of the issue is, right? Because 9 times out of 10, most of us didn't grow up in an atmosphere where we were educated about money or we had a situation where there weren't challenges, whether it was single mom or even if it's working household is still a struggle or like I share the age of which my mother was born and what years excuse me she was born in and what she just didn't know couldn't offer to me. Her youngest brother, though, our youngest one out of the eight, that was the difference maker for me because, again, different era. And he, went to college and had a little bit of information and knowledge that he passed on to me in addition to his two kids. But when you don't have that, I mean, and I still struggled with it early on. And when you
Mhm.
don't have that, I think it's so important to sit down with yourself, as you said, Nashaya, and just look at it, take an honest look at it of your mindset around money and how you can shift it, not just for yourself, but for your children, for any other people that you may come in contact with your family for generations to come. Shift that whole narrative. So I'm so glad you talked about that because I think that's really crucial.
Mhm.
That's a crucial step because you can do all the other things you talked about,
Yeah.
but they not be sustainable if you don't change your mind
Mhm.
around money, right?
Yes.
And it can be taboo for us as black and brown women or black and brown men or women in the workplace. The money topic cannot be taboo.
Mhm.
And I would offer this, everyone that's listening. I mean, what Nashaya is sharing, but also when if you're being interviewed and you're talking about the salary, don't be shy to talk about it. Don't be shy to ask for what you want. Don't be shy to say, look, I think that's low. Explain to me that, and here's what I was expecting. I mean, there's so much conversation that's necessary in our lives around money that makes us completely well,
Mhm.
that takes the stress away, that
Yeah.
takes all the anxiety and all the other stuff away, which is why it is so important, Nashaya. And I thank you so much for this month of July to have you on as my guest because this topic to me is critically important. Before we close our session tonight, because we're just about out of time, was there anything else, Nashaya, that you wanted to leave with the audience?
Yeah, I talked about all of those things, and I talked how we all can take something from those steps. And I want to also speak to, this it's about mastering that foundational work,
Mm,
because when
yes.
we master it at a lower income, once we're hitting that six figures, now it's like, oh, okay, I already figured out how to do it at 60,000, 70,000, 80,000. Now I'm in the 100 to
Right.
250,000. Now we have some more play money, right? And now we can really like tackle those big money goals. When I got my biggest raise last year, I paid off $13,000 in debt in 1 year. And I was like, I'm just going to do it because
Wow.
I had the
Yes.
capacity to do it and it felt amazing. But I also know that it was because I had the extra income. And I
Yes.
find that sometimes when people get the extra income, they increase their
They're
expenses.
spending.
Yes, and they're
Mhm.
spending more
Mhm.
as opposed to maximizing on the fact that now they have this additional income that they didn't have a year or 2 years ago. Let me get rid of
Yes.
all this stuff, whether it's the debt, improve our savings, start investing more, or, that down payment for a house, whatever that is for each person. Let me start
Right.
cleaning up all this stuff first. I can do a couple of extra things, but not all the things. And then once I clean this all up, now I can really enjoy my money. So,
Mm.
um, you know, I
Yes.
I think that that's an important piece because yes, we can master the foundational stuff at our lower income, but the more money we make, now we can have more play time and more play money if we do it the right
Yes.
way when we're at the lower income or even where we are now.
Exactly. Oh, everything. 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 So well put. Nashaya, has been such an honor. Look, if any of you, if gone out and listened to the replay of part one and you joined us for part two, or you're catching this on the replay and you're like, everything Nashaya said, yes, I need that in my life, but I still have some questions and I still need a little bit more help. You can connect with her on LinkedIn. She's extremely responsive. You can even put some comments. You look, you know how this rolls. You're going to see this a lot. You're going to see this going to be post or whatever. Comment, connect, ask your questions, reach out to her. She will sit with you and do exactly what she talked about in part one and part two. It'll be life changing. I'm telling you, it may not feel like it initially. I know what it's like to be there and to be scared about the money thing and think, okay, no, every trip, what is she talking about? Same, no, that's not me. I know it seems like that, but
Mhm.
I'm telling you, I know that I know from being that person that was broke and going to the loan places. And I mean, look, and paying that crazy, I've been there, done all of that. And
Yes.
so I know what Nishea is saying to you works. So reach out to her. She could make the difference, not just in your life, I said earlier, but also in your children's lives as well. Nishea, it has been such an honor to have you as a guest in June. And I'm
Thank
going to
you.
be back in touch. Believe me.
I look forward to
I'll be
it.
back in touch. All right, great. Okay, everyone, take care. Until next time.